Welcome! My name is Rhonda Parker, and I am the creator behind Words by Parker. If this is your first visit, welcome. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Today we're going to dive into a Renegade Shadow Q&A, which is the option you guys chose for our 1,000 subscriber celebration. We hit 1,000 subscribers, I guess, a couple months ago. It's still kind of weird to me that we're there. Matter of fact, we actually hit 1,200 subscribers a few weeks ago, which for me was like my ultimate YouTube goal. That was, if I could hit 1,200, that's what I wanted to do. That was like a personal goal. I don't have any goals after that as far as subscriber count, so I'm good. But all joking aside, thank you, all of you, for being here and for giving me and my content and my stories and my characters a chance. Whether you've been here since the beginning or you just got here today, I appreciate each and every one of you. The fact that you've chosen to spend time with my worlds and my characters, that really means a lot to me. Much more than I think I can put into words. At the moment, anyway. So let's get this Q&A started. Question from Joseph Cardona 4660. What is your favorite part about making this series? Hearing it all come together. I can write the script, but the actors start making the magic happen. And then once the lines and the sound effects are laid out, it becomes much more than a script with a good story. For example, in episode 7, all of the actors recorded their lines on their own at different times. None of us were doing live recording sessions together, anything like that. You would have thought we were all in the same room and bouncing off each other. Kind of like bouncing off each other's performances. Talia, Bradley, and the Mysterious Alpha sound like they've been working together for years. Tyler, Gretchen, and Mason sound like the best friends they are. It was amazing, and just hearing all of that come together so well, I was floored, absolutely floored. And part of that is the actors getting more comfortable with their characters, and part of that is them having solid information to work with up front about the character they play. And part of that is just we have some very talented folks that are on this project, which I'm very blessed and grateful to be working with. And we have some more folks coming up that you guys haven't heard yet, which I'm really excited to bring them into the Renegade Shadow family. Well, they're in the family now, but you haven't heard them yet. So I'm very excited about that. And that'll be coming up in 2024. But yeah, it's once everything comes together, I don't know. It's magic. It's the only explanation I have for it, as weird as that sounds. It's just magical. Question from SCVRRX. I'm spelling it out because I'm afraid I'll mispronounce it, so my apologies. Love the story as it is now, but I'm sure I'm not the only one that's wondering if there's ever going to be some romance involving the listener. I can neither confirm nor deny. Maybe there will be, maybe there won't be. You'll have to wait and see. I know folks want to know if this is going to happen, and I've had people ask before, but if I told you yes or no, that colors how you see the story. I want you to enjoy this world and this story and these characters as it unfolds and as we meet people, without expectations of specific things happening. So I'm not going to answer that question. You're just going to have to wait and see. Question from Thomas Tanker 0257. What are Mason, Tyler, and Gretchen's favorite movies? This is a tough one. Good question. This was a tough one. They all like a variety of movies in general, so I'll go with some genres they like. Gretchen is a rom-com girl, but the good rom-coms. The ones that have a lot of heart, aren't overly sappy, and are clever. She's not a fan of Hallmark movies. Tyler likes animated movies, both hand-drawn and computer animated, which makes sense since he is an artist and a graphic designer. But he also likes live-action movies. Good stories, whether they are epic tales or just a fun adventure, catch his interest. Mason is a mixed bag. For him, if he likes a movie, then he likes it. So his tastes run the gamut from documentaries to blockbuster films to independents to everything in between. The Lord of the Rings trilogy is a favorite of all three. They like watching it together, and one time on a break from college, they binge-watched it at Tyler's house. And Tyler and Mason always put up with Gretchen's "It's not like the book," or "That's exactly like the book" comments. I understand, girl. I am right there with you. Question from Thomas Tanker 0257. What were the biggest inspirations for writing the series? A question asked by a friend. I know that sounds weird, but that really is how all this started. So, a few years ago, I wrote a short story called A Moonlit Dilemma about a werewolf named Mason who meets a little girl at the town's Halloween festival after he runs away from poachers in the forest. And a friend of mine said, "I want to know what happened with the poachers. How did he get rid of them?" So, after hashing out some ideas, I figured that Mason made a deal with a werewolf pack who needed a homestead, so he gave them some land in exchange for regular patrols. That further morphed into what we have today, a generations-long standing agreement that started before Mason was even born. From that, the idea of finding an injured human in the forest and what the pack would do began the series. I've enjoyed figuring out what my werewolves look like. I knew some of the lore and legends, but I didn't want to follow all of it, and some of it I wanted to reference in a different way. I'm also more familiar with vampires than I am werewolves, so I had a lot to learn, but at the same time, I really enjoyed digging into it and just learning more about werewolves in general. So I made the werewolves my own, like so many other fiction writers have done, and now I love working with werewolves. I have to go back to vampires at some point, but I really like working with werewolves. Also, on a side note, A Moonlit Dilemma wound up being the first full cast production on this channel. So I wouldn't say I've come full circle, but werewolves have gotten me started in a lot of things on this channel, but I'm enjoying it. I'm loving every minute of it. It's great. Question from Thomas Tanker 0257. If any of the characters were real, who would you get along with the most? Probably Gretchen. Judith and I would have to take some time to get to know each other, and she doesn't open up or trust that easily. There would always be some tension there, and I think the same goes for Tyler. With Gretchen, she isn't less mistrustful, but she is more open to giving people a chance up front. She's also a healer, so her natural inclination is to help people, and me personally, I'm a healer type and a mom friend. Plus, Gretchen and I could talk a lot about books. It'd be great. Question from Broken Pieces 5852. Does the whelp have any family or friends who are looking for them or know what happened to them? I haven't explored this idea because I've left the whelp and their story up to the listener. I think in general, yeah, someone is probably looking for them, but once they woke up from the coma, they might have called their loved ones and said they were fine, they were just taking an extended vacation or something like that. No one except the Carson pack knows what happened to them or where they are. Well, except Talia, Bradley, and their alpha. Question from Broken Pieces 5852. What are your favorite headcanons? This is a hard one. There's a few I can't talk about yet, so let's go with some random ones, as in the first ones I can think of. Tyler is a picky eater, while Mason is not. For instance, if Tyler doesn't like something on his pizza or salad, he'll give it to Mason. Gretchen has a reading spot in the backyard of her house and one in her room. She's been a voracious reader since she was a little girl, and was known to fall asleep with a book in her hand. Oliver met his best friend at a summer camp in Tennessee when they were 10 years old. They were both werewolves and had an instant bond because of it. They both looked forward to summer vacations after that. Amelia, Oliver's mother, liked Judith from the minute she met her. When she found out that Judith had argued with Oliver about undergoing the mauling, as in Judith just stood up to Oliver and said, "I'm going to do this," she liked her even more. The fact that Judith stood up to Oliver over something that important meant that she would have no problem being an alpha female and the partner Oliver would need as a pack alpha. So Judith's mother-in-law liked her a lot. Tyler and Mason play video games online with their friends sometimes, and one of their favorite phrases to hit each other with is, "While we're young." So for instance, if Mason is lagging behind, Tyler might pop off with, "While we're young, Tierney," which might earn him a reply like, "Zip it, Carson." Now granted, this is all said in good fun, but you know how it is when you're gaming with your friends sometimes. Question from Nightfur Moonfang 3291. Say, if Tyler and the whelp develop a romance, what would their dynamic be just the two of them alone? Tyler is alpha heir to the Carson pack. Whoever he chooses as his mate, if he chooses a mate, would help him lead the pack. He and his mate would stay with the pack until Judith retires or passes away, then Tyler would become pack alpha. This is similar to Oliver and Judith. They stayed in the pack until the day came for Oliver to become pack alpha. Judith then became the alpha female. Question from Midnight Moon 2001. What is your favorite pack of wolves that you love? It's something I have in mind because I love wolves and they are ancestors of dogs. I think gray wolves. They look distinctly different from dogs. I say that because red wolves tend to look a little more like a dog. I've heard them compared to German Shepherds, for instance, which I see it. I can definitely see they have more of the dog look to them, but I definitely think gray wolves are probably my favorite, at least right now. That could change. Question from Broken Pieces 5852. Will there be art for the characters' wolf forms? Pally and I have talked about this in the past, and we're both interested in exploring the idea. It's going to be a while, though, as we're still working through the rest of the cast, so stay tuned. Question from Wonton Kisses. Does the series ever mention where the story is set? Yes, it's first mentioned in episode 6 when Talia says the name of the town, Raven's Landing. Raven's Landing is a fictional small town located in the mountains of western North Carolina. It's located near a river, Landing refers to the port, and Ravens is a reference to the werewolves that founded the town and have lived there for generations. The official logo art was designed by Gwenifred, who also plays Gretchen in the series, but in universe, Tyler designed the logo because he's a well-known graphic designer and artist, and he's also a descendant of the original Carsons who founded the town. Ravens and wolves have a symbiotic relationship in nature. They are referred to as wolf birds and have been known to form relationships with individual wolves in a pack. They also play with the pups, and sometimes with the adults. It's actually pretty fascinating. I'll link some articles below if you want to check it out. Question from Grass with a Bee. Who feels most ashamed of their past and why? Oh, wow. This is a good question, but it's one I can't answer right now. We haven't met that character yet. Question from Grass with a Bee. Will we have an insight into the whelp's background, family, friends? I've tried not to delve into that too much because I wanted the listeners to come up with their own concept of the whelp. Who they are, what they look like, how they're handling all of this, etc. In the canon version of the whelp, yes, they do have a backstory and a name. But that's not something I can talk about until the series is finished. And quite honestly, I don't want to influence the way you see the whelp, so I don't want to talk about that until everything's done. Question from Grass with a Bee. Are there any songs that remind you of one of the characters? Photograph by Nickelback is one. The idea of looking at old pictures and seeing yourselves in your younger days, but you're also looking back with different eyes. You're at a different point in your life, and sometimes those memories are bittersweet. You know, sometimes you want to stay in that memory, and then other times you really want to get out of it. But it's that idea of looking back on those younger days with more experienced eyes. It reminds me of Oliver and Judith and their friends looking at photos of when they were in their teens and 20s. Of Judith looking at the same photos after Oliver died. And one day, Tyler, Gretchen, and Mason will be looking back on their own photos. Thinking Out Loud by Ed Sheeran reminds me of Oliver and Judith. They met in college, they fell in love, and planned to grow old together. They had quite a love story and went through a lot to be together. The lines about, I'll be loving you till we're 70, and my heart could still fall as hard at 23, those hit me hard because they did meet when they were younger and they planned to spend the rest of their life together. I can see them dancing to this song in their living room and Oliver kind of softly singing those lines to Judith. And then maybe she says, only till we're 70, as a playful response. And then Oliver says, well, that's just the estimated time limit. And he kisses her. There are other songs that remind me of the characters, but I can't talk about why without major spoilers, so I'll save those for another time. Question from Zoe Owner 9813. I hope I pronounced that right. Will there be a video about the whelp's first shift? Yes, there will be a whole episode dedicated to the whelp's first shift. We just aren't there yet. We're getting there. We just aren't there yet. Question from Kit Kat Evie Foxleader. Will we be joining the Carson pack as a packmate? No comment at this time. You'll have to wait and see. Okay, that wraps up our first Renegade Shadow Q&A. I say our first one because I have a feeling that you will have more questions later on. Thank you to everyone who asked questions. Some of these were really hard for me to answer, which is a good thing because it made me think, but it took me a while to figure out the answer. Thank you again for being here and for pushing the channel past 1,000 subscribers and for giving my work and me a chance. I love reading your comments, seeing the likes, seeing what you guys have to say, what you think. I love it when you guys start theorizing, because I just sit back and go, oh, you have no idea what's coming. And trust me, you guys have no idea what's coming. I'm so excited. So, but I think any writer gets excited about that, because that means you're engaging with the work, that it spoke to you. And that is more important than anything to me, because I want to make content that makes people think and makes people, whether they enjoy it because it makes them happy or it makes them cry or they just get involved with the story or the characters, you're engaging with it. And that means I'm doing my job. So thank you for being here. And I'm glad that you feel like my content is worth following, that you're finding something here you want to come back for. So I will endeavor to continue to make good content, and I appreciate all of you more than you know. Take care of yourselves. Talk to you again soon.